Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by Chumbawamba. Remember Chumbawamba? Yeah, Chumbawamba. Let's dim the lights and start the show.
Welcome everybody to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by Lust Conquers All. Tune in for hot, sizzling action where love takes a backseat to the superficial on Lust Conquers All. Welcome everybody to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And this is the show where we, as filmmakers, like to pull apart films and apparently TV shows to discuss what they do, how they do it, sometimes why they do it, usually why they do it, and all the other things. We are running short on time today, and so we're going to jump straight into today's episode, which is about what, Mr. Toddies?
Yes, today we are covering season 2 of Ted Lasso. So if you haven't seen that, please go pause this episode and take a gander. It is streaming on Apple TV.
Yeah, we'll talk about a bunch of stuff. We'll, look through some of the highlights and lowlights from season 2, maybe some of the missed opportunities that they didn't take advantage of, and also some of the nicely written characters and complex characters and relationships and other such stuff and things and stuff.
Absolutely. So the synopsis of the show: an American college football coach, Ted Lasso, heads to London to manage AFC Richmond, a struggling English Premier League soccer team. It's created by Jason Sudeikis and Bill Lawrence, cinematography by David Rahm, starring Jason Sudeikis as Ted Lasso, Hannah Waddingham as Rebecca, Nick Mohammed as Nate, Brett Goldstein as Roy Kent, Brendan Hunt as Coach Beard, Jeremy Swift as Higgins, Toheeb Jimoh as Sam Obisanya, and Sarah Niles as Dr. Sharon.
Hey, Nate.
Hey.
Everything okay?
Yes, Ted. Everything is okay.
What is it? What'd I do?
What are you talking about?
Oh, come on, man. You're mad as hell at me. I just want to know why. Huh? What have I got to learn here?
You want to know what you did?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I'll tell you what you did. You made me feel like I was the most important person in the whole world. And then you abandoned me. Like you switched out of life just like that. And I worked my ass off trying to get your attention back, to prove myself to you, to make you like me again. But the more I did, the less you cared. It's like I was fucking invisible. I haven't even got the photo I gave you for Christmas up in your office, just a picture of dumb Americans. And now you're going to play Nate's false nine, so when the team fuck up, which they will, okay, you can blame it on me. Well, no, fuck that. Everybody loves you. The great Ted Lasso, well, I think you're a fucking joke. Without me, you wouldn't want a single match and they would have shipped your ass back to Kansas where you fucking belong with your son. Because you sure as hell don't belong here. But I do. I belong here. This didn't just fall into my lap, right? I earned this.
I know you did, Nate. And if I didn't tell you how important you were to me enough, I'm sorry about that.
No, you're not. You're full of shit. Just fuck you, Ted.
Richmond down 2.
So, many questions. The first and maybe most important one is, was season 2 for you as good as season 1?
It wasn't. And
we haven't talked about this yet, and
we haven't said any words about it. It wasn't, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint why, because it's okay. I think that there was some good and some not so good, stuff I think that happened this season. I loved, that they talked a lot about mental health and brought that to the forefront. I thought that was really awesome. And not, it's not like somebody else had some issues. It was like the main character, Ted had some issues. So, but I don't know, it just missed a little bit for me. It missed a little bit of that magic that first season had. And I wasn't necessarily expecting the same kind of magic. You can't have that twice. It was like lightning in a bottle. Just everyone loving the scenario, the situations that Ted was put in, and the fact that he was learning, the whole time. He's learning about, British football and about all the differences and everything like that, and like being caught off guard, and his beautiful reactions to being ignorant were so endearing that you just couldn't help but love the guy. And then he did have some issues we became aware of some of the issues that his with his mental health in the first season, but it didn't go too deep, right? It was just like, oh my gosh, he's like having some problems. And then that helped develop his relationship with some of the characters really well. I mean, I thought that they used that brilliantly to develop his relationship with Rebecca. And it was just a beautiful story, right? And I just feel like in the second season, they were developing all the characters, pretty well, but for me, I felt like I want more Ted. Like, I know that there are other characters in the show. I get that. But as a viewer, I love Ted, and everyone else is, kind of like around Ted. So that's why the first season was so good. It was just so focused on him that there was no, we would break away to other characters, and we would of course develop other characters, but it always, it very wholly centered around him. And I felt like this season spent a lot more time developing, a lot of the other characters, and it was less fulfilling. So like Roy Kent, developed him a whole lot, which was fine. I like Roy. And then obviously, Nate, to a little bit lesser extent, despite the clip he played, I feel like. And there were some gems in there, like Coach Beard's episode. I loved that, where he just had, got, had like the worst night ever in the history of life. It was like Job. There were a couple of episodes that I really, really enjoyed, but it just wasn't the lightning in the bottle thing. And then the whole Nate situation really, and I don't know if I missed something. Maybe I did, and I will go back and rewatch, but I felt like that was a little out of nowhere almost for me. And I'm very curious to hear your thoughts there, because the whole time where he was going off on him, I was sitting there thinking, okay, Ted, you got to lose your shit on this guy. Like, let him have it, because this guy is totally out of bounds completely. But I understood the path in the story. Let's get Nate out there and to do something else, like get him away from the team. I thought that was a great move to start next season, and it's going to be, I think that this is a great stepping stone. This is a great stepping stone to season 3 for me, that I really enjoyed. I wasn't crazy about the doctor, and I kind of just lost a little bit with the whole Sam Obisanya relationship situation. I was like, that just doesn't feel right. Call it ageist, I guess. I don't know, but it's a little bit like the opposite of, the power situation that you have with men in power and dating, like females that work for them and things like that. But opposite, it just felt wrong a little bit to me. But yeah, I don't know. It just lost its luster for me a little bit.
That's funny. I would agree with about 80%. Like there is a 20% that I think we'll disagree on, and it's one of those shades of gray kind of thing.
Yeah.
But largely I do agree with, what you're saying, and especially in terms of season 1 compared to season 2, because season 1, football was a much bigger part of the story and the characters revolving around it. It all spun out of Ted and his relationship to the team, and how everyone is relating within those dynamics. So season 2, it felt like it shifted from a sports comedy, drama to an office comedy drama. Like those are just two completely different things. And so everything suddenly took on a turn. Like football is just what everyone happens to be a part of. It's not really central to what's going on in their lives, in quite the same way, to some degree or another. But in the same way, I mean, you almost could have, fit in anything. We could have suddenly been at Dunder Mifflin, and all those same stories probably would have played out, very similarly.
Yeah.
Just obviously tweaks here and there. And so that was a big turn off for me the first, 4 or 5 episodes. It took me a while to kind of pull me along, especially episode 1, getting into it. I thought that whole opening with killing the dog was very just silly, and I was just like, all right. And then as soon as they introduced Dr. Sharon, I'm like, okay, this is clearly just an avenue to bring her in and have it relate to soccer, as opposed to let's just have Ted, interact with a therapist and discuss some of these mental health issues. We'll use her to, permeate throughout the entire office, and it'll be something for everyone to kind of circle around. And to some degree, it works. And everything I like about her definitely has, stuff you were, mentioning about like mental health and having that conversation. Very good. She worked really well for me once she was in there and in the flow of the show. But the way they inserted her was just, really corny to me, and just not that much fun. As much as I like Danny Rojas and everything that he brings to the show, I don't know. I felt like they maybe this season could have developed him a little bit more. And I felt like they went the opposite direction. They underdeveloped him. They put him on a very one-note path, and they had an opportunity to bring his silly, kind of lighthearted and dramatic. Right? He's very over the top. Whenever he's dramatic, he's super dramatic, and whenever he's doing well, he's super lighthearted, and which was great. I think that played so well in season 1 because he was just briefly in there. They could have done so much more with him in season 2 to bring him along. And maybe that's something they say for season 3, but whenever you kind of have him walking around struggling with dress shoes, I was like, okay, I get it. He's just comic relief, I guess, but I don't know. Just on his character alone, they could have done more. And then in that same thing, they de-developed Jamie Tart. Like I felt like that was a massive missed opportunity, right? They had a whole line of growth that they could have sent him down on why he's returning to Richmond and earning his place back and growing up as a man and kind of dealing with his father. And I felt like they just completely disserviced him and his entire character. Everything they built in season 1, they kind of just threw away with magic pixie dust. It was like, oh, he goes into Dr. Sharon's office and walks out a completely different person. Like they do very little to make him earn his growth. And whenever there's moments where he should, based on his character and what we've seen from him, like he should be a little bit more ferocious and difficult to deal with. He's just way too kind and way too easy. I'm like, this isn't Jamie Tart. Like, I don't know what, y'all thought y'all could do in the span of, 3 minutes. Like, I think it's episode 2 or something where he goes from getting booted off the reality show and losing his team, and then suddenly he's super humble and he stays super humble. Like he never
goes
rises
back
up. No. And they play around a little bit with that, with the whole sometimes you need to be a prick, that's who you are. But yeah, it was a little too easy. His whole growth was just way too easy to me.
So then what did you think of the doctor?
I mean, what were your thoughts? I did like her. And I think the reason I liked her is the reason why I was struggling with most of the season, which is everybody loves Ted. everybody loves Ted. And I get that, you know, in reality, everyone loves Ted Lasso. But you still have an American coaching an English football team that got him relegated. I'm sorry, but fans are going to be rabid. They're going to be on you. They're going to be tearing your head apart. Like, that's soccer or football is the most vicious sport in the entire world, maybe in the entire history of the world. Like, people have died playing soccer, you know, people have been murdered on soccer fields. Like, this is the most rabid and passionate fan base you have. And I'm sorry, no Brit is going to take kindly to an American taking over their FC. Like, that's just completely, and this is coming from me who has maybe watched a game and a half of soccer in his entire life. Even I know this. Like, and so if I'm not buying into that, you know, alter world view, then I can only imagine what actual footy fans, you know, make of the whole thing. And so, but what she did, what Dr. Sharon did by coming onto the show, was give another opportunity for Ted to win someone over. And so I liked how stiff upper lip she was, and she didn't give in to his whimsy and his playfulness. She was a much harder win than anybody else, you know, certainly this season, but maybe even from last season. Like, it was just, she was hard. And anytime you think, oh, that might have made a dent, like, she just turned it on him and made it a psychoanalysis play. And I don't know. And so for those aspects, I really started to enjoy her and what she was bringing. Yeah, that's, so,
I feel the total opposite. I feel like what I want for me, yeah, everybody loves Ted because Ted's awesome. I don't need, for me, I didn't need to see somebody, you know, be won over by him, because I feel like one of the strongest part of this show is because me as a viewer, I love him, right? And everybody else loves him too. That's why it's so good. So what I would have liked is for her to have the complete opposite attitude, for her to be as quick-witted and funny and lighthearted as him. And to use that to win him over. It just because then when she gets real and serious, when the real conversations happen, then you see another side of her. But I just feel like the whole time it's just, she's just hard and stoic, and then she's soft, but still has that hard and stoic aspect to her. It just felt more one-dimensional in that regard. It would have been really cool if everyone, I mean, I know everyone loved her, and they're like, oh yeah, but they mostly just loved her after they talked to her, like after they saw her. And so we never got to see that inside, you know, until she starts shrinking Ted, really, right? And I don't know. I probably would have liked her more had she come in and been more like Ted and won them over in the same way. But for some reason, that's part of the problem now, is that everybody loves Ted, and I get, so maybe I'm looking at this from an American point of view, you know, like what you said earlier, like, okay, so these are diehard fans, and so someone like Nate is their voice, right? Is the fuck you American, you don't belong here, get the fuck out. And everybody, no matter, because everybody loves Ted, but fuck you, you don't belong here. Like, and if that's the case, then that's just the American in me, and that's fine, you know, I guess. But I don't know. It would have been, I would have enjoyed it a lot more if it had been like that. But that's the American in me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the other thing I really appreciated about that dynamic between Dr. Sharon and Ted was they broke a pretty big rule in writing and film and TV, which is normally you put a single man and a single woman in the same room and they spend a lot of time on screen together. They make it romantic. It always culminates in like some kind of romantic relationship. So I really appreciated that they just let two people of the opposite sex and a relatively same age just exist and coexist and keep it on a friendship level. Because I kept anticipating, I was like, y'all are going to ruin this friendship. And they didn't. They let them be. Now, if they took that in a new direction next season, I think that would be cool and interesting. But for at least this era, they never even come close to touching any kind of romantic vibe. And so I just really appreciated that.
Agreed.
As far as Nate, man, honestly, it's my favorite character of the season.
Great. No, I loved it. I loved his development.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did.
What did you make of that? Like, what was your feeling? I don't know. Could you kind of see it coming down the pipe or,
Yeah, I mean, I could see it coming, but what I didn't see coming was Ted not squashing it. Because he had squashed other, I guess, uprisings, from the team. I think Sam had at one point was like angry, was like pissed off at Ted or something.
Pulls him aside, yeah.
Squashed that, and then squashed the Jamie Tart thing. What's his name? The I forget his name, but the team leader. All of those, he's squashed them all. So I expected him to kind of like bring Nate back into the fold, or at least to just calm him down. But it just never happened. And so I the more I think about it, the more I think, yeah, this is an homage. This is like, they're giving England their voice back in this. And so if I was a Brit and I was watching this, because it's written, Jason Sudeikis, it's this thing, but also the guy who plays Roy Kent is a writer on the show, and he's a British guy. It's written by a bunch of British folks. And so they're trying to give their voice back, and Nate is their voice, it seems like to me. And so that makes complete sense to me now. And it feels right. And it feels like a great progression into the next season. So while this season was a little flat for me, I feel like next season should be really strong and hopefully more focused on football again.
Yeah, that would be my biggest wish for sure. Just even as someone who doesn't watch it, I really appreciated being brought along and understanding some of the nuances and some of the strategy, even some of the basic stuff, like it's called a pitch. I don't think I really fully apprecited that.
My favorite thing that he got to realize was when he did this is the same size pitch that you guys practice on, right? Actually, it's not. Wait, what all the pitches pretty much are different sizes, but I don't know what you guys are doing over here. So good.
It's so good. So I don't know if you caught what that was referencing. It was a Hoosiers reference where, they go to a big game and he breaks out a measuring tape and he measures like the distance from the free throw line and the height of the rim. He's like, yep, guys, same exact dimensions as the one y'all played on back home. Like,
yep.
There is no difference. This is our court or whatever. And he was trying to pull that on them and it just backfired.
So good.
So good. But Nate, man, so much I loved about his character development. And I think it would have been easy because he might have been my favorite character from season 1 as well. Just to see this guy kind of humbly come along and have his moments. And Ted does bring him up and raises him up. And it ends with him being a coach. Like, that's such a good win for him and his meek character, right? He has this very meek presence. And to see, well, what do you do with him now? Well, now you bring in the resentment of someone who knows what he's doing and his ideas are being heard and used and they're helping the team. And you have that one moment where he kind of mouths off to the other coaches in the room, Roy and Coach Beard. And he's like, he's probably going to use my idea again and take all the credit. And they're just like, hey, that's the job. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah.
Like, he's the man. This is the way the game plays. And he was just, really unhappy about it. But even from the first episode, and what's interesting is they open the season on Nate. It's a close-up of Nate is the very first shot of the season. And the last shot of the season, it's a close-up on Nate. And they're two different people. Like,
his hair is grayer and
all that stress, right? From living the life that he's living, the frustration, and some of the lies that he's telling, whether to the coach or to himself, to the press. It just got overwhelming. And he's a very conflicted dude, because you can see him not taking the mantle of leadership very well. One of the first things we see him do in the season is to mistreat Will, the new kit man who's taking his place, right? He's treating him like garbage. He's treating the lower players on the rung like garbage, right? Colin, he is so mean-spirited to both of them for no real reason, and his attitude is, well, pressure makes diamonds, and it's this misguided attempt at leadership. And I think we see this in the real world a lot, where people get an opportunity to lead someone else, and they think the only way to do it is the way that it was done to them. And for Nate, his dad is so mean. Like, we finally get to meet his dad, and his dad just doesn't appreciate anything. Like, he gets him a nice table, and he's just like, I'm not a dog, don't whistle at me. And there's no sense of pride in his son and appreciation. He has a big moment, and he gets right when he takes over for Coach Lasso after he has his quote unquote food poisoning or panic attack, and he takes control. He's like, no, he sees Coach Beard and Roy about to do something. He's like, nope, I got it. And they're like, oh, cool, you got it. I love how they let him take it. That's so much maturity on their part and trust. And he kills it, and he gets in the paper, and his dad's reading it. And what does his dad say? He just corrects him. He's like, some say humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. And it's just like, oh, okay. And just every step along the way, you can just feel all these little moments out, the way he's treating other people and the way he's feeling treated. Because often he feels emasculated and disrespected, unseen, and all he does is take it out on other people, right? Whenever, oh man, that moment when, like you mentioned earlier, the team captain, McAdoo, and he's starting to stress out, and he's just not playing the game the right way. And Lasso sees it, and he's like, I think we're going to have to call in a big dog. And Nate's like, yeah, all right, I'll do it. And he just laughs. Ted Lasso laughs at him, not understanding. And Coach Beard is just looking at him like, that's not a joke. And he's like, you knew that wasn't a joke? Nope. And Nate, you can only feel broken as a man, a grown man, whenever someone you respect laughs at the notion of you being like, someone that carries weight in the room and on your team. Like, that's, and we all know he didn't mean anything by it. But that's not, there's no other way to take it as someone, who's working underneath you. So you have moments like that, feeling demeaned. And there's a little comment that he makes about the way his dad used to demean his relationships. And so he's just starved for affection and fatherly appreciation. And it just boils up more and more and more until, he just can't take it anymore. And I think the biggest surprise was the monologue that, I played, where he's just saying, it's not what I expected him to say at that moment. I expected him to say, I don't think you know what you're doing. I think you're a joke, all that stuff. Yeah. But the stuff where he's like, I've been fighting for your attention, and all you did was throw me away. You raised me up and then forgot about me. I didn't see that coming. Like, that's a really good, well-rounded and useful. Like, I don't think they just fabricated that. I think, it's there, it's in the background, but it's not something that's obvious to the viewer. It's something that's obvious to the character and the way they're going about their life. It's something you can imagine. He's been thinking this all year, and then boom, it just explodes. Yeah. And so I don't know.
I think sorry to interrupt, but I think that this is one of those like reasons why this is an example of it would have been great if I could have binged this instead of waiting every single week, because I think that there were these Easter eggs there, and having a week in between episodes, you forget them. I don't think that they were largely obvious, except for like that time he laughed, absolutely, and I remember that. But a lot of times, it didn't really feel like Nate was aggressively screaming to Ted, like, notice me. And there were, and I just missed them because or I saw them and I caught it, but I just let it go because it's a week until the next episode, and I just end up forgetting about it. Were those there for you?
Ish. I think I saw his power hungry nature rising up and taking over in the way he treated other people. But I think mostly there was just a lack of scenes happening between him and Ted. And so I would say it was in the absence of it more than in anything overt happening between the two of them.
They still could have, to me, they could have made a bigger deal about that. It would have meant there would have been a lot more weight, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think because there's a few little moments. There's a moment at Christmas when Nate gives them like a photograph of them, a framed photo of both of them together, and Ted is such a whole and fairly complete human being that he says thank you with the same level of intention and depth of a gift like that as he would to someone opening a door for him. Like, to him, it's all relatively equal from the outside. Maybe on the inside, he's having different thoughts, but I think he's just such a complete human being. He doesn't feel a need to overcompensate whenever he sees someone doing something like that. And that's one of his, nice parts, and clearly one of his downfalls too. Just the ability to read where someone's at sometimes isn't very good.
Yeah.
I really liked, I don't know. Okay. So Rebecca and Sam kind of worked for me. I think this is one of the 20% that I'm not eye to eye on. Like, I hear what you're saying. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I can see why that would turn off a lot of people. It didn't really bother me. I think for no particular reason other than they got to know each other blindly and through the banter app, which, by the way, Rebecca's text game is terrible. Sam should have hung up on her ages ago because she is garbage. And if you're texting like this whenever you're trying to date someone, I don't care if you're a man or a woman, you deserve to be dumped, man. That's just a garbage way. These little non-answer answers, they're just closed answers. She never invites conversation. She just answers a question, and Sam has to go on like he's giving an interview. That's not a very dynamic conversation. And if you're sensing frustration, this is what I experienced.
This doesn't happen to you.
No, right. And so it's just frustrating whenever you're trying to have a conversation and get to know somebody, and all they're doing is these one-word answers. And I just stopped texting. That's okay, cool. Well, I'm done then. I don't see any reason to keep continuing this conversation if you're not trying to engage as well. And so there's a lot of dead graveyard text threads laying around. But even beyond that, they clearly had a vibe, whatever, and they connected. I don't know. I mean, I guess it just doesn't bother me because I trust adults to make their own decisions. Now, if he was underage, I would have obviously, I think everyone would have a much bigger issue given the age gap. But I mean, for the most part, I just trust people to do what's in their best interest. And if you have a problem, I would hope you would speak up. I know it doesn't work that way all the time. But ultimately I feel like they're adults consensuating between each other, and so that works for me. I think I was more disappointed that they broke up and that she ended it out of fear. I think it's just too easy to give into fear, and it's so hard to find someone that you connect with. You know what, if it's about him having an opportunity to go play for a Nigerian team, great. Yes. Do the right thing. Set them free, but if it's really more about you feeling vulnerable, and just, I don't know. So and for me, I'm rooting for them to figure it out. that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I get that. I don't have any problem with the age difference, whatever. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Just the power dynamic.
I mean, a little bit, but not really, because he was pursuing her. So that's a little bit different, right?
True.
Rather than her pursuing him. but I don't know. It just didn't feel right. Actually, I mean, I do have a problem with the power dynamic situation thing. It's like, it felt very, I don't know. It felt very much like one of those scenarios that, like, you know, is happening for the show rather than like something that would have been a natural occurrence. And I see how they got there through the banter app thing and everything. And if they wanted to develop Sam and they wanted to develop Rebecca. So, you know, and they're both single people. So yeah, I can see how they bring that together. But then once you bring them together, her to say, you know, I'm not ready to do this. Yes, like you said, out of fear, was very frustrating. But then, you know, for him to be recruited by that you know, that Nigerian guy, for him to be recruited and her to, I don't know, like she had been absent for a while, and then to like show up and say, you can go. Like, I don't, she doesn't need to tell him he can go. She's already dumped him. Right. And he's just like sitting there, and then he doesn't go. And I get that in the end, it was a good idea because the guy was an asshole, but he didn't know that. We didn't know that. You know, we thought this was the opportunity of a lifetime for him, not just to make money or to be famous, but to, like, you know, have an effect on what he loves dearly, which is his home, right? To like bring something very special to where he's from, which they have been setting that up forever, you know? And I get his choice. Okay, so he chooses not to go, but I can't help but feel like it is because he still loves her or like wants to be with her. And I feel like that is a terrible thing to do because she was the one that told him, you know, I can't be with you right now. We need to stop. And then for him to just basically put his life on hold for her, it just feels wrong. And I know that, you know, some will say, well, yeah, you know, he wanted to start this restaurant randomly, you know, in London. And then also to, I guess not too randomly, he's talked about Nigerian food before, but to start this restaurant and to play football more there, like making it more about staying with his team. Right. This is the whole reason you were talking about, like, it doesn't feel like we're part of a football club anymore. It feels like we're just part of the world, and these are everyday characters. And that's not what I want to watch. I want to watch a football team interacting with the football team and all of the other people that are part of the football team. It's one of the reasons why Moneyball is the movie that it is. Like, you are always in that world, and every now and then you get pulled out, but then you're sucked back in to the world of baseball. It is the same that I want here, which is, give me football or give me death. Football is life. I don't need to see a bunch of random people doing random things and life happening to them randomly. That happens to me every day. I watch that on shows every day. I want to see this particular thing, which I think season 1 did very well. Very well. And this one did a little bit less of. So I don't know. I clearly have a problem with their relationship. I think just because it's aloof in ways and it's very serious in ways, and I don't know what those ways are because they change. That's what, it's not like a grounded relationship for me. It is like are they on? Then they're fucking on. Are they off? Then they're off. But they're not totally off because Sam is staying. I guarantee you for her, because he even said in the closet, he said, I'm going to get even nicer. Well, he can't get any even nicer if he leaves. So he's staying for her. It's like obvious. So I don't know. I have a problem with that.
That's fair. I did really like that last minute character, the billionaire, the Nigerian billionaire.
I did too.
Like, he was really fun, and I appreciated that they made him to be kind of a racist. We don't get to experience enough of that. And some people might be surprised, you know, to I don't know, at that idea or the prospect, or even just me saying that out loud. But that's real life. Like, you can be a racist and you don't have to be white to be a racist. And I know a lot of people disagree with that based on power dynamics and definitional stuff, etc. But if we're going by the really basic level of, you think one group of people is better than another, anybody can be a racist. And I've experienced that. Like, I grew up, I've had girls hit on me, have crushes on me, and say they can't date me because I'm white. Like, that stuff happens. And so I really appreciated seeing him. He wouldn't shake Ted's hand. Like, oh, and Ted totally like, got it, no problem. Hey, people have their things. And then of course he sees the way he interacts with Sam, and he's like, oh, okay, well, there that is. And there's even a comment later on where he says something like, well, like my father used to say, even a silent white man is still a white man. He's like,
yeah.
Oh, word. Okay.
Okay.
And
that's
so
where we're
finally,
at. All right.
Whenever he turns him down, he gets to see who he really is. Whenever he doesn't get his way, ultimately he's just an asshole. Like, and you can be rich or poor and still be a complete asshole. So
true.
I like that. Just hey, there's all kinds of people in all kinds of areas of life, and I think it's good to paint three-dimensional characters and not just people that represent the reality we want to live in instead of reality as it exists. And you can certainly paint a backstory and a picture of why he is the way he is. And I think that's totally fine. White people, I'm sure, have destroyed a lot of stuff in his neck of the woods, and he has a lot of good reason to be distrustful and have whatever resentment, anger, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I liked him as a character overall, I guess.
I did too. I agree.
I did think Miss Storyline, just to dial back into the football aspect that both of us, I think, are really frustrated by, was we didn't really get to experience the journey to promotion. It just happened in the background. That should have been the big focus of the season, of those ups and downs. And instead it would be like, we open the season, they're on a 7-game streak of ties. Like, they've already played through 7 games and we haven't got to live and die with any of those games. That's very milquetoast. That's very weak. Yeah. And the rest of the season plays out that way. It's very shallow on soccer. There's not a lot of depth. We don't get to, explore any of that stuff.
I mean, even if they did like a minute-long montage, like something of like every game, tie, just so we could experience a little moment of each of them. I mean, that would have been something. But yeah, I agree.
Totally. Back to your point about mental health. I thought it was a really good, and I struggle with this. I would say my first watch through, I've been like trying to blast through this thing over the last day. I was a little put off, not necessarily by the depiction of mental health itself, like great, but it just felt completely unmotivated and sporadic and out of nowhere. And I think watching it the second time, I appreciated that aspect about it because, while maybe not a well told from a storyline perspective, it does present a very well case as it happens in reality, right? Because mental health issues and panic attacks, they're not this perfectly linear thing that happens to people. It doesn't work that way. Things just kind of build up and it feels like it happens out of nowhere, even though it's been in the background the whole time. I've never dealt with panic attacks, so I can't relate on that level, but I think watching this helped me understand it a little bit better. And so I definitely, like, hats off. That was much better written than I think I appreciated my first time through. Yeah. I'm almost done here. What Roy and Keeley, like, they became one of my favorite things, throughout the season, watching them together. And really Roy developed so well as a character, right? Because I think he turned into this very well-rounded brute, right? He's almost the embodiment of non-toxic masculinity. He's just very strong and, confident, verbose, and put together man, right? A man's man. Yet he respects people, respects women, gives great advice, tells people hard truths when they don't want to hear it. Like Rebecca, right? He gives her a lot of great advice over the season. Don't settle for a lesser love, right? He's like, that guy was garbage. What are you doing with him? You deserve someone that makes you feel like lightning hits you or whatever. And then same thing with her goddaughter, Nora, who I loved. I loved Nora as a character. I thought, she was really strong. She was witty. She had perspective. She wasn't just kind of throwaway character that they just said, let's make her cutesy and that'll be that. Like they really put something new behind her that I don't feel like I've seen before. And so I was just really happy with not just the writing, but even the performance. Whoever played Nora, I think did a really wonderful job. But whenever she's trying to connect, when Rebecca's trying to connect with her, she bumps into Roy, and he's like, hey, just connect with her by inviting her into your life. Stop trying to be all these other things. Okay. Invites her to work. Fun ensues. Like, so Roy just turned into this really great sage person, knowing when to step in and when not to. And yet, my question to you is, if you care to weigh in, I don't know if you do, but do you think Roy is creating a rift with Kelly, like a self-fulfilling prophecy of doom, or is he seeing a real issue ahead of the curve?
With who?
With Keely, with his girlfriend.
With Keely. I thought you said Kelly. I was like, I don't know who the heck Kelly is. Yeah, there's something going on, one thing I did like about the show is you don't have to have a big role for it to be impactful. And I think they do this very well with the teacher. The teacher, we see her maybe twice, maybe 3 times the whole season. Maybe 3 times.
3, maybe 4.
3, maybe 4. Okay, cool. But, and it's never for more than like a scene, right? But she becomes the impetus behind one of the biggest things that happens in the season for me, which is when Roy comes home and tells her that the teacher asked me if I was married, and I just said no. I don't know why. That's all I said. That it's very powerful, that one little thing. And I know that Keely then said, yeah, and Jamie said I love you, and Nate kissed me, whatever. Those can be overlooked because they happened to Keely. Keely didn't do them. But Roy made the decision not to say, I have a girlfriend. He just said, I'm not married. That's it. There's a big, big deal, which is much bigger than what happened to Keely. So she's a massive, the teacher has a massive role in this season, in Roy specifically. And I thought that they did that brilliantly, because so many times in life, someone can randomly come into your life and just totally change everything, either in a good or a bad way, in barely even knowing them, and like these interactions are very important. And so I thought that they did that really well by not overusing her to make us love her. Like I don't want to love the teacher. I love Roy and Keely together. I don't want her to come between them. We first meet the teacher. It's just, hey, I got to tell you, she's cursing a lot. Why do you think that is? I don't fucking know. That's great. That's a great first interaction there. I felt a little bit something there between them, but I don't think that it was necessarily like supposed to be there. It's just like, oh, she's really beautiful, right? He's got to notice that. I mean, he's a footballer. He's, but at the same time, you don't think anything, because then they cut away and it's him with her, and he's talking to her in the car about cursing with the little girl. So yeah, I thought that was for me, that was the biggest moment of the whole season. I get the Nate situation, that's a necessity. Let's break from this. Let's get, a whole nother storyline going. But then apparently the other weird thing that happened in the finale was he's like, yeah, we're going to go away for 6 weeks. And she's like, no, you go. And he goes away for 6 weeks without her. He goes on vacation without her. Oh no, we'll be fine when you get back. And I loved how they just showed the passage of time. 2 weeks later, 2 months later, 6 months later. I loved that. They just show it, but we never see them. We never see Keely or Roy. And we're just kind of left hanging with what the heck is happening. He just told her it. First he told her that he didn't tell the teacher he has a girlfriend. Now she's saying, go away without me. Are we breaking up? No, we're good. We're good. I don't know about that. I don't know. Cause I do love them together. Think that they're, cause they're both very strong characters.
Yeah.
but they're also weak. There's like this element about them that's like very weak. Roy is very needy.
True.
Like it's so funny because like you said it perfectly, he's non-toxic masculinity is fantastic. However, and which makes it okay that he's so needy because he's such a man's man, but then to also be needy, it was like interesting. And then Keely is so free-spirited, but she's so humbled by Roy because she loves him so much that it's like they make each other the opposite, So anyway,
that's good. I mean, I think if they do break up, it'll be Roy. I think he's creating issues where none really exist, and whatever he's feeling, maybe he swung too far the other direction. Like he's wanting to do what's best for her despite what she might actually want for herself. Whereas he thinks, like, he's seeing that magazine photo spread of her by herself and they didn't use any of the pictures with him. And he's like, yeah, that just looks right. Like, just because you think that looks right doesn't mean that's what she wants. Like,
and it doesn't mean that you guys shouldn't be together because you don't look as good in a photo with her. Like, come on.
You're completely projecting your insecurities, and I think he's going to create their downfall. And maybe it comes back to the teacher, like you said. She's in actually the first couple episodes, and I didn't realize this until rewatching it. I think my buddy Ian noticed it, but she's the teacher that he's interacting with whenever he's coaching the little girls' soccer team.
Oh, that's her. I saw it was a woman. I just didn't recognize her. Okay.
Good. It's not just me, finally.
No, not just you.
But yeah, and so seeing that the second time I was like, oh, because she's kind of dropping some nuggets on him. And anyway, so yeah, I think I'm excited to see where they take that. I don't know. I mean, there's some other fun little highlights, right? Phoebe having the bad breath. That's Roy's niece. And they go door to door at Christmas looking for a dentist until they fix it. They have that really adorable little Love Actually moment with the cards. And they're kind of, not bullying, but correcting the bully. Very, I don't know, lovingly and firmly, like, hey, don't be a little twat, or whatever they're saying. That
episode was fantastic development for Roy.
Yeah, like
showing how I guess you could call it manly. I don't know, how aggressive is a better word. He is about, I want something, which is you to feel valued and safe. So we are going to knock on every fucking door until we find somebody to fix this problem because I love you. Like that was one of the best episodes to develop him possible. He just, you got to know what the lengths that this guy will go to, which I think is fantastic for, he's supposed to be one of the best players ever to play the game in the show. Right. So if that's the case, he should have that mentality of the answer lies on the other side of this difficult thing. Let's go through the difficult thing. Here we go.
Good point.
I will hold your hand through the whole thing. Yeah. Seems like the type.
I think that's about all I have for it. I think we could pick apart several other things, but that pretty much covers it. So yeah. Anyway, what are you going to recommend this week?
So this week I'm going to recommend another Apple TV show that I was watching in conjunction to this at the same time that I really enjoyed. And I don't know that you enjoyed it as much as me, but I think maybe in the end you did. Mr. Corman with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I thought it was really frustrating at times, but maybe intentionally so, not sure. But yeah, Mr. Corman, which is on Apple TV.
Nice. I am going to recommend the new Ridley Scott film called The Last Duel. I don't think it's a show we'll ever cover. The topic is just way too big for us, but I do recommend it. I think it's an incredibly engaging film.
Is it out now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe as of this weekend. I caught a screening of it at the Austin Film Society.
Gotcha.
But powerful. The performances are great. Matt Damon absolutely kills it. And I'm just really excited. I mean, more than anything, I went just to watch Jodie Comer. I think she's absolutely incredible, and I'm waiting for her to be a household name. She is just that good. If you've never seen Killing Eve, you should go watch that and just watch it for her, and just watch her because she is really that good. Nice.
Good job. Good suggestion.
So stay tuned for next week. I think if I have your blessing, we will cover Squid Game. Yeah.
Yes, I need to. I just finished it, and I need to rewatch it because I watched. Oh, God, I'm just gonna say this. It's in Korean, so if you go watch it, know that Netflix allows you to watch it in the actual language, and it will give you subtitles. And this is vastly important for this show. You have to, because when you turn it on, it's gonna be ADR'd in English, and I didn't realize that I could have turned that off. It was so painful to watch that way, and it's the worst ADR I've ever seen. Absolute garbage. I don't know what they did. They spent all their money on making the show and had no more for English ADR. So just know that you can turn off the ADR and you can watch it in Korean with English subtitles and do that. So yeah, Squid Game is great. Let's do it.
Good note. Awesome. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe, drop us a note, leave us a review. And if there's something you want us to cover, shoot us an email or, drop a note on one of the episodes. And if you want to leave a note on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/Ted Lasso Season 2.
And we'll leave you with a quote of the day from Margaret Thatcher. The spirit of envy can destroy, it can never build. That's such an amazing quote. I just love that so much.
I do too. And I love it because it comes from Margaret Thatcher, who is not well loved in Britain. And so I was like, oh, what's a quote about envy from someone who would be native to the Brits? But regardless of who she is, I do really love that idea. Envy is not a constructive thing that you can build upon.
Agreed. Fantastic. I love it. Wow, this has been really, really great. Thank you guys for hanging in there with us. Thank you, Wes, for your insight. I think I probably like the episode or the season a little bit more after having this conversation. So
Nice.
Thank you for that. I definitely like the Doctor a little bit more. A little bit. So yeah, join us next week. We'll be covering Squid Game. Make sure to share us with your friends. Please review us. All the good things. All of it helps, and we love doing this. But it does help to hear from you guys. Until next week, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch the movies.